deep in an underground secret Pacific Island lair, Pop Culture Minefield presents Saturday Morning Funtime. This is the Comic Relief Crusader telling you to get your morning cereal ready, because here we go.
And then Monkey Jeebus is telling me not to do what I always do, shit on things that I love. I can't believe he did that. Love you, Monkey. Happy Saturday. Wow. Well, we got Bill producing the show today, and he's having a good Saturday too so far, except for the coughing. Hopefully he's going to be getting better. He got some of the con crud. It's something that when you go to a convention, you get. And I remember the first time I got to con in New Orleans, and I was shaking hands. A lot of military vets were there, shaking hands. Yeah. And I'm going to tell you something. I don't know if it was the Navy, Marines, or the Army, but some of you sons of bitches weren't washing your hands. And I got sick as F. And apparently poor Bill got sick too down in Roswell. Maybe it was one of those UFO diseases from outer space. But I saw him pop on. What happened when he popped on?
It went.
No, he's done. Well, apparently he's got a gaming stream. What is it? Skywatcher. What is it, Martin?
Skywatcher Gaming.
Skywatcher Gaming.
Yeah.
Yeah. So make sure to share that out so folks here can go check out his gaming. It's all racing. Is that what he does? Racing games?
No, he plays. He has a lot of different types of games. But just like me, racing is in his heart.
Yeah. So there you go. Any combat games?
I didn't see. That's my first love. Then racing, combat, then racing.
Combat games?
Yeah.
Bill, combat games? Can't hear you.
I hit the wrong one.
Yeah.
I own 200 Xbox X games. Yeah, Call of Duties, all that stuff. Are you kidding me?
Okay. So we can play together sometime, man, because I love Call of Duty. Modern Warfare.
I got like every game that I like, but I like Martin. We like the racing games.
Oh yeah. Well, Martin has this because he sucks at bowling apparently, so he's got to find something he's good at, and apparently virtual racing is his thing.
But I do sky watches. I play music, but you know how when you're streaming to a certain platform, you can't do certain things. So I'm on Rumble, Twitch, Trovo.
Yeah, the only thing I've got a problem with Rumble so far is you got to pay $10 a month. And you're already, when you're already paying money for streaming service, then you got to pay for the thing you're streaming to. I'm like,
Yeah, but I will say Rumble, at least I can say things without, it's not like I have to think about what I'm going to say before I say it, kind of a deal.
Right.
I can just say it. That's the way it should be, right?
Yeah, free speech, all that. Now look, I always tell people, we proclaim free speech here in the United States, in America. We are not subjects to a crown. We are born with liberty. We are born with certain freedoms, and the only freedoms we're not allowed to do is to impose our needs onto other people, which is like proof of that is try to walk into a store and walk out with food. In California, you can get away with it. Rest of the United States, you go in the store, you got to pay to walk out with stuff. So freedom to a certain degree, as long as you're not committing a crime, harming another person.
Obviously, there are guidelines and things you have to do that are right. I mean, you're not going to say things that are going to promote violence, hate, that kind of deal. I mean, that's obvious. But
you got to be careful too, because that's a slippery slope when we start talking about this. And this is something you and I've never talked about is, what is hate speech? What is
right?
What defines it?
Right.
Because it's up to an individual. Well, I define this as hate speech. Well, that's not really hateful, but it is to me. Well, and then that's where we get in that slippery slope.
There's the obvious hate.
Yeah, when you start declaring murder this person, you should walk out and kill these people like Alec Baldwin did on Conan O'Brien's show years ago. that a certain politician and his family should be taken out in the street and stoned to death. Said that on Conan O'Brien.
Hanoi Jane said it last week.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. Yeah, and everybody's like, oh, she's just kidding. And she's like, giving that look of, am I?
Well,
But anyway, I don't want to take your time because you got a great topic today with Outland. I will say one thing.
Are you a fan?
Actually, yes, but Sean Connery. It's amazing how
Bill.
the whole Bond thing. But then, what a career he had as he got older. I mean, think of the movies he was involved with. I mean, The Hunt for Red October.
Mhm.
I mean, so many good movies toward the end of his career as well. I mean, the guy, to me, was one of my favorite actors.
Well, there are some things in this submarine that don't react well to bullets.
Exactly. And according to Gary, the best part of his career was his headgear.
Wait, what?
Wait, should I do it? Should I do it?
Don't you remember your own stand-up routine about the fish?
The hairpiece? Yes. So, but a lot of people consider Outland to have been one of his best performances. And although he won the Oscar for The Untouchables, I have to agree with certain people's beliefs that Outland really was an outstanding performance by Sean Connery.
Yes.
He's the reason why that film works, because there were really, look, I'm going to be shitting on Peter Hyams a little bit in this episode, because as much as I love him, I also hate him, because he could do really good science fiction and then turn around and do stupid shit. But he has in his retinue several films, which Running Scared is another one of my favorites, with Gregory Hines and what's his name from City Slickers?
Billy Crystal?
Billy Crystal. It's one of my favorite buddy cop films of all time is Running Scared. And he shot that in the 80s. Great film. A lot of fun. And he could do some good stuff, but then he would turn around and do something really stupid. And within his films, like, I love the movie. I read the book Relic, and then I saw the movie with Tom Sizemore, who we just lost this week.
Yes.
I love that movie until the point where he turns with it was either a 357 or 44 Magnum. It was a Magnum. And he turns and fires it into a stainless steel locked door at point blank range. And nothing happens. And I'm like, are you really that stupid that you would point a weapon into a stainless steel door and think nothing would happen if you fire into it? It's either going to puncture it or it's going to bounce back and kill you. And he would do stuff like that, and it just drove me crazy. And in this movie, I'm just going to get it out of the way.
Well, you guys go do it. I'm getting out of here. I'm going to sit back.
All right, Bill, you go back in the backfield.
Yeah,
all right.
Go back. Later, guys.
Go sideline coach.
See you later, Bill.
See you,
remember, with Sean Connery, it's always S with an H. So
yes, S with an H. Well, of course. So Connery, he is the best part of this film. Peter Hyams, the weakest part of the film. And my beefs with the film are always the medical stuff, because science is important if you're doing science fiction, and medical is part of science. And this whole film is built off of the medical aspect, because that's how he finds out that a crime's been committed. And then he does things that you just don't do. Number one, you can't draw blood from the throat. You can't draw blood from the carotid arteries if someone's been dead for a few hours, because of a thing called lividity. I knew about this as a teenager. I frustrated my dad when I went to see it because I commented on that. I'm like, how old was I? I was 16 when this came out, and I was commenting on that shit. My dad was like, can you just shut up and watch a movie? And I'm like, can't help it, doing stuff, stupid stuff. And of course, the other thing that was dumb was shotguns in, on a place that has like 1/6 or even less gravity. Because basically what a gun becomes at that point is a rocket in your hand. And you fire it, and two things happen. One, it'll blow you backwards. Two, it punctures. That place is made out of plastic. It was clearly plastic. It was made to look like plastic because it was. And they're firing shotguns around there. And it's just, I just thought it was some of the dumbest shit ever. But past those three things, I enjoy the crap out of that movie. It's a lot of fun. And there's also a culture out there that has been arguing for decades, and I'm part of that culture, that Outland exists in the same universe as Blade Runner and Alien. Not only is it produced by the same company, LAD, it has it has the same music for two of the films, or composer, and a majority of the production people that worked on both Alien and Outland. And they're the two that are most closely related. And then Blade Runner and Alien have connection. Whereas the only connection that Blade Runner has with Alien or with Outland is the LAD company.
I do think they may have even used some of the suits, like they just modified them because they already had them built.
I got to tell you, the suits really look similar, and not only that, Ron Cobb's designs for the sets in Alien are very similar to the sets used in Outland, and the spacesuits are also very similar, lit the same way on the inside. They have the same domed faceplate. So I wouldn't be surprised if they redress it. It was 20th Century Fox, LAD company connection. Clearly, things were reused to save money. A lot of the graphic equipment within the film, very similar in design. And it's not the first time that's happened. The landing scene and takeoff scene with the spinner in Blade Runner uses the same purge graphic that was used in Alien. It's the exact same one. The animation of the turning and everything. So a lot of reused stuff, recycled video.
Gary, though, I'm surprised you weren't upset that people suddenly blow up like balloons and explode in space.
Oh, I'm not even going to get into that. Of course they don't. What they were doing is over-exaggerating what happens in the human body. Most of that stuff that explodes occurs within the body. I thought it was funny. A physicist was just talking a few weeks ago about 2001: A Space Odyssey and how that what Dave Bowman does is what you would actually do if you were to be exposed to space, is you would want to push out all the air you could. Expel it quickly. You don't want anything in your lungs. You want to push everything out of your lungs. You don't want your blood oxygenated, heavily oxygenated, because all of that's going to expand inside your body as it begins to be pulled apart. And on top of that, you want to close your eyes because of the extreme temperature that you'll be exposed to as well. And so in that scene where Dave Bowman leaves the pod going back into the Discovery, very realistic. And a lot of astronauts have commented on it, as well as physicists and biologists have commented on what he did there. And it was well thought out because they worked closely with people from NASA in making that film. That's why it was so accurate. There are lots of little mistakes in there. Like with Dave Bowman and, not Dave Bowman, sorry, Frank Poole going out to the antenna, and he's not tethered. That would never happen. You would be tethered. But it's still probably the single most accurate film about astronauts that's ever been made, if not the most. And it depicts space very accurately. And Outland, on the other hand, is science fiction fantasy to a certain point. It's basically a retelling. I mean, it's straight across the board retelling. High Noon, yeah. It's the town turns its back on the town sheriff. The town sheriff's been abandoned by his wife because she wants out of this world. And she, I got to tell you, that boy's performance as his son was just awful. I've always joked, it's like, why do you want to go to this family? That kid, like mentally damaged or something. There's something wrong with that kid when that plays his son in that. But he wants to get back to his family, and the only person in town that seems to want to help him is one of his deputies, and his doctor friend who's a drunk. And I thought it was interesting that in the film, what's her name? Frances Sternhagen plays Dr. Marion Lazarus in the film, the drunk doctor friend to Marshall O'Neill. And in the same film, John Ratzenberg is in there, plays the part of Tarlo in the film. And anybody who's a Cheers fan knows that Sternhagen plays Ratzenberg's mother in Cheers, and they're in this film together. I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
It's weird nerd information. But you got a great cast in there. You've got Stuart Milligan is in there. He plays Walters. Everybody should know him from Star Wars. He was also in Raiders of the Lost Ark. Then you've got Steven Berkoff. He plays Sagan, the dude that loses his mind at the beginning of the film. And from this drug that they're apparently, they're taking this drug in order to help them work longer, harder hours. And but the drug has a side effect. It'll kill you. And so he loses his mind. He starts cutting up a prostitute, all that shit. But that dude you might know from movies like Beverly Hills Cop. He was the villain, and very good actor. Then you've got Peter Boyle, who played the Frankenstein monster in Young Frankenstein. And, of course, everybody really knows him from playing Everybody Loves Raymond. He plays Raymond's dad.
Yeah.
And then, of course, James B. Sicking, who plays Sergeant Montone, that works for the Marshal. A likable character who's crooked. He's corrupt. Exposed as corrupt. He apologizes for being corrupt. Who has one of the most brutal deaths in the film because he dared help O'Neill. And he's found in his locker, strangled to death, and the black tongue sticking out of his mouth, and his eyes are all bugged out. That was really actually very realistic. For a film that ignored a lot of medical stuff, wow, they nailed what a person looks like when they've been strangled. And so they've got a great cast in this film. And then, of course, Sean Connery playing O'Neill, who is, again, based off of the Gary Cooper character in High Noon. Marshall, who is been a bit of a troublemaker. Maybe not that great of a marshal, who has been gradually being promoted downward. And he gets handed this job at what is considered to be one of the worst jobs to have as a marshal. But as the manager of the mining company at the facility says, it can be a cushy job where you can make a lot of money just by turning your back, looking the other way. A lot of money. I worked in the medical field. Come on, Pope, you know that.
It's the little things that matter.
It's like, no, Gary's speaking from experience of doing it himself.
Yeah. Yeah, I've just happened to see the gruesome effects of people who have been killed. And a lot of strangulation is not always done by another person. When you choke yourself to death by hanging, it's your death by strangulation. And I've had to be on many a call with people who died from manual strangulation. Maybe that was not the intent of the filmmakers, but I like to think that Blade Runner, Alien, Outland, I do too, Stephen. I got to tell you, man, I'm a big fan of all three franchises, all three of the main films. And I do like to think in my mind that they are connected on a very, on the DNA. They have shared DNA. Two of them have Ridley Scott directly involved. Two of them have the same composer. Three of them have many of the special effects people directly involved. Two of them, almost all of them. In fact, I think I hold on, let me check. I think I may even have that.
I'd say they all have the same spirit. That's the way I like to put it, because there's timeline.
Well, they represent
consistency to
corporations
different
very much so. Yeah, they represent corporations the same way, and I kind of like that. But here you go.
Yeah, my headcanon's the
Let
same
me
way.
pull this up here. Which one?
I said my headcanon's the same way, that they're all connected in the same universe.
Yeah, here you go. These are shared people in both films. Can we pull down the banner just for a sec?
Yes. Give me a second.
Though Outland sadly isn't as well known. I didn't even know about this movie until about 2 or 3 years ago, and I just randomly found it. I'm like, wait a second, Sean Connery was in a movie as a lot of the same people who worked on Alien on it. Why did I not hear about this movie before?
But here you go. If you look to your left there, Stuart Rose, John Mullo, Tiny Nichols. Somebody actually has a name Tiny. It cracks me up. John Chisholm, Martin Bauer, Bill Pearson, John Sorensen, Clive Curtis, and Eric Tomlinson. All worked on Alien and Outland in the visual effects department. And so there's a lot of similarities the way they shot it. And then, of course, there's also the odd comparison, which is that the movie 2010, not 2001, but 2010, which was directed by Peter Hyams, the same director as Outland, takes place around the moon Io, or Io as some people call it. And whereas in Outland, it takes place at the Con Amalgamate mining facility on the Jovian moon of Io. And what blows my mind is, I just always like to point this out, that Io is basically the same size as Earth, and it has its own moon, and it itself is a moon of Jupiter. But both 2010 and Outland take place around Io and Europa. So, and you would think for a guy that's worked on sci-fi that he'd be a sci-fi nerd, but really, in honesty, he's really not. Peter Hyams, but he's a really good. I like his direction. I like the way he handles his characters, and in this one, it really is kind of like a mixture of High Noon and a French Connection, all rolled into one. With the marshal being the town sheriff, mixed with Popeye Doyle. Oh, and there's another connection, because in one version, a television version of the French Connection, Peter Boyle played Popeye.
Yeah.
This is what you get with being friends with Keith and me, is just this weird collection of stupid information about movies and actors and shit like that. But
yeah, I remember renting this at the movie at the video store, and the only reason I got it was Sean Connery on the cover with a shotgun, sci-fi. Yep.
I'm all in. Hey, Polly's here. What's up? I had the Star Log of Connery on the cover. I had that one too, man. In fact, I may still have it. I have some of my old Star Logs. I don't have the first one. I used to have the first one with the Star Trek crew drawn on there with the Christmas tree, but it got stolen. But I think I still have the Close Encounters of a Third Kind one issue, which is a really good issue, because it had some of the early art designs. Some of it got pushed forward to E.T. later, some of the alien design. But let's see. I saw Outland in theaters as a kid. I did too. My dad took me to it. And like I said, I really did do this. I would frustrate my dad, because I was one of those science nerds. And I started criticizing the movie Outland while we were watching it, leaning over and talking to my dad. And I remember my dad going, "Will you shut up and just watch the movie?" Because I complained about lividity in that scene. But anyway, this is really just one of my favorite films. And the story of it is about a guy by the name of Marshal William O'Neill. He's a federal marshal, and they apparently have to do tour of duties on some of these outposts. And one of the other connections, by the way, with Alien is that the ship, the Nostromo, is taking ore from one of these outer ring mining facilities when they happen upon the distress call from LB426. And so there's that other connection, is that, again, dealing with the mining corporations specifically, right? Both films deal directly with it. So O'Neill is assigned to a tour of duty at the titanium ore mining outpost of Con-Am 27, operated by the company Con Amalgamate, on the Jovian moon of Io. Conditions on Io are difficult, with 1/6 the gravity of Earth, with no breathable atmosphere, and the spacesuits are cumbersome. Well, of course they are. With limited air, which I always find funny in science fiction. It takes place in the future, that they never consider scrubbers. And I get mad when I see shows like Doctor Who going, like the episode they did of Doctor Who with Capaldi with the angry eyebrows, where they got to pay for their air. It's like, first of all, you wouldn't require that if you built a scrubber. You just keep scrubbing the CO2 back into oxygen. It's actually fairly easy. I mean, we had that technology in the 60s.
Yep.
It's not like it's sci-fi. It's been around for 50 years, 50 plus years. Let's see. Oh, you had a membership to Starlog. Yeah. Yeah, I did not have that. The only memberships I ever had, I was a member of Bantha Tracks, which was the Star Wars fan club. And I'd had that since it first started in 78, 79. And I joined the Blade Runner fan club when it first got released in 82, and then it died. And then I recreated the fan club in 95 online. I had a Starlog subscription that was Christmas for, oh, that's you, John.
Yeah.
I didn't like subscription because they would come damaged. Well, that's a problem with, I got to tell you, no, that's a serious problem. It's one of the biggest complaints still to this day with even the comic book. When you get a subscription to get comic books with publishers, and you get those subscriptions and they'll come in damaged, it's just very frustrating. I dig that. But when you get a chance, check out your DMs on Discord. Watch out, Polly. He might send you like really not good porn, like bad porn. What's bad porn? I'll let your imagination work with that one. You figure it out.
I would think.
But we got, who else here? Latino Slant, Polly's here. Davina Duckworth, of course, I said hi to. Pope, I said hi. Dragon Ruse is here. Deleted since I said I'd see an Animal Confusa Penny and Monkey Jeebus. So I missed one of them. All right. So
he'll send you Burt Reynolds on a shag carpet.
Burt Reynolds laugh. So Outland it's a Western in space complete with guns. And again, part of the premise of the show is that these characters work long shifts, and they're paid through bonuses. That's where you get your real money. The general manager is a guy by the name of Mark Shepard, played by Peter Boyle, who's best known, as I said, Young Frankenstein, and Everybody Loves Raymond as the dad. And he boasts that productivity under his management has broken all records since he took over. Carol O'Neill, that's Marshall O'Neill's wife, feels that she can't raise their son, Paul, on Io, and leaves with their child to the Jupiter space station to await a shuttle back to Earth. And it's around this time that Tarlo, a miner played by the actor from Beverly Hills Cop, what's his name? Stephen Burkoff. He goes nuts, starts cutting up a hooker. And they're sent in, and this is where you get your first hint that there might be some corruption involved with what ends up happening to him, because he's like, "You're gonna kill me," because he's pretty crazy. You remember the scene, John? Yeah. He sees spiders. This is the scene where, I'm in the wrong scene. He sees spiders and rips open his own spacesuit.
Yeah.
resulting to explosive decompression. Yeah, that's not how it works. It was fun. It was fun. Other films borrowed from it. They wanted to show people blowing up inside their space. It's not exactly what happens. Far more dramatic, but it was a neat effect for those who wanted to go see a sci-fi film with some cool, on screen, on camera effects, things that were done live and not CG. And Kane, another miner, enters an elevator without a spacesuit during another psychotic episode, and he dies from the same decompression. So we have a reluctant doctor played by Frances Sternhagen, and she begins to investigate these deaths for O'Neill. And she's caustic, kind of foul-mouthed. Somebody that he doesn't like at first, but then they become friends.
Yeah.
You know the type. Another incident involves a worker, Sagan, now this one, who takes a prostitute hostage and threatens to kill her with a knife. O'Neill attempts to calm the man while Montoni, that's played by James B. Sicking, sneaks in via an air duct and kills Sagan with a shotgun, which aggravates O'Neill because he felt that he had really calmed him down. And this is where you begin to suspect that something's going on with some of the cops. So O'Neill and Lazarus discovered that Sagan had traces of polydichloric euthamol, a powerful amphetamine-type drug in his bloodstream, which would allow the miners to work almost continuously for days at a time until they begin to burn out and turn psychotic, which takes approximately, I think he said 10 months or 10 days. 10 days. Yeah. For days, let me get this right. I wrote this down. That turned psychotic after approximately 10 months of use. So 10 months of abuse of the drug would lead to permanent brain damage, is what they're talking about. So O'Neill uncovers a drug distribution ring run by a corrupt shepherd, Mark Shepard, the guy who runs and manages the facility, and is sanctioned by now repentant Montone, the guy who shot the miner, played by James B. Sicking. Like I said, he becomes sort of a sympathetic character in the story because he regrets having turned his back on law enforcement, and of course, it gets him killed later. But using surveillance cameras throughout the facility, O'Neill finds and captures Nicholas Spoda. I love the name Spoda. Just sounds like a criminal, doesn't it? Nick Spoda, one of Shepard's dealers on the base, who is murdered before he can be questioned. Montone is found garroted, killed, murdered in his locker. O'Neill finds the latest shipment of drugs, which was shipped from the space station. Just to let you know how he did that, once again, was in a meat locker. He goes into the meat locker and he cuts open or opens up a big side of beef or pork or whatever the hell it was, and the drugs was stuffed inside of it. And I think that's a play on the way that supposedly drugs were brought into the United States. Originally, it was said that they were shipped inside the bodies of veterans that were killed in Vietnam. But later it was discovered, no, what they were doing. It's almost as bad, but they were shipped in the bottoms of the caskets, not inside the bodies, the cavities of the dead. So he finds that shipment and he's kind of holding it hostage. And he is then attacked by another dealer. And then O'Neill knocks him out and destroys the shipment of drugs. When Shepard finds this out, he threatens O'Neill and contacts his drug distributor, asking him to send a team, which is like in the movie High Noon, a team of gunslingers are sent to the town to kill the sheriff and free the criminal that he's holding. So O'Neill is prepared, having been monitoring Shepard's communications of dealing with this. He's been spying on him. So O'Neill waits for the arrival of the hitman, and that's when we get the high noon thing where you get the countdown. This time a digital clock rather than the town clock. O'Neill waits for the arrival of the hitman on a supply shuttle from other side of Jupiter. Realizing what is coming, and with only Dr. Lazarus willing to help him, O'Neill sends a message to his family promising to return to Earth with his job done, end quote. O'Neill ambushes the hitmen one by one. Lazarus helps him kill the first by trapping him in a pressurized quarter. She does. She actually puts her life at risk for him. And that's what makes her such an interesting character. O'Neill activates a bomb, causing explosive decompression that kills one of the hitmen. The second is killed in a glass greenhouse structure on the outpost. When O'Neill tricks him to shooting the window, he gets sucked out. Again, firing shotguns in a fragile building in space.
Yeah.
So anyway, let's see. Outpost and shooting the window, causing it to break up and then blow him out into space. And it was one of the worst effects in the film, his being blown out. It looked really fake. It's one of the only ones I really complain about with the film. O'Neill is then confronted and attacked by Shepard's inside man, one of his own deputies, Sergeant Ballard, who you trust. You like this guy, remember? The build-up of this character, he's like a good guy, but in reality, he's very much a bad guy, ready to kill him. And the two fight
by Clark Peters, who was the lieutenant in The Wire.
Yep. He's had an active career. The dude was in The Wire. He was in Defy Bloods. He's in John Wick. He's in Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, which is really not a bad film. I don't like the third act. The way it ends, I didn't like it. I thought the buildup was better than the ending. But he's been involved with all sorts. He plays Professor X in the podcast series Marvel Wastelanders. He's in the recent sci-fi movie The Man Who Fell to Earth. He's in Foundation. The guy has had a continuous career in acting. And he's a very good actor, and he's really likable in this film. He's I wouldn't call him the Barney Fife, but he's the likable deputy that seems to, he's a family man, all this stuff. But in reality, he's more corrupt than anybody on this facility because he's not only willing to turn his back, he's willing to kill his boss. And so the two of them fight outside the outpost near the satellite structure, where O'Neill pulls Ballard's oxygen hose, suffocating him as he pushes him into the electrical generating walls. It's part of the solar panels.
It's
Surviving,
a really funny looking effect when you just like boom.
Yeah, he's just boom, 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 boom. He's like going down. I got to tell you, visually, the film for a film made in 1979, it really still stands up to today. Just like Alien, Outland, Alien, and Blade Runner. All three have visual effects, for the most part, that stand up to today. Blade Runner, all the way through, from beginning to end. Everything looks good to today. Alien, I think pretty much all of that, too. Outland has a couple of hokey moments. And I think the reason why is because it was a lower budget. It was a smaller budget. So a lot of those last-minute decisions and effects were like, look, this is all the time we got. Let's do it. Just do it. And we'll just accept whatever happens. So at this point, he's gotten rid of all the bad guys. O'Neill confronts Shepard in the bar and does the classic. He's wounded, so he uses his one good hand and just knocks him over the table. It's a great John Wayne style moment. And at this point, basically it's implied that he's dead. Mark Shepard's going to be killed by his bosses for screwing up so bad. O'Neill's done. He's finished his job, and he sends a message to his wife, I'm on the way to meet you. And that's the way the film ends. It's a classic happy ending, Western in space. And you got to like that, man. You got to like that. You just don't get stories like that. Everybody feels everything's got to be broken down into race or gender today, instead of just telling a story. about characters. I mean, you have two heroes in this film. One's man, one's female. You know, Dr. Lazarus is a freaking awesome character. She's written really well too. She's crass. Wants to get drunk with him. Doesn't want to fool around with him. She just wants to get drunk with him because she likes to drink. And I just love that character. And Sternhagen's, you know, she's dead now, but she's a really good actor when she was alive. But I mean, that's pretty much the end of the film. Very simple. Straight to the point, High Noon remake with hints of the French Connection. There are other things in there too, like there's a scene when he's chasing the drug dealer into the cafeteria, the chow hall.
Yeah.
Very similar to the chow hall you see in Alien 3, or as the logo says, Alien to the Third Power. Because the threes, or cubed, yeah. So I thought that was interesting that they had that similar look to it. But the director of that film was very much influenced by Blade Runner and those movies. So I wasn't surprised to see that kind of similarities, because he's going to do that. In fact, if I recall correctly, no, that's the limey actor in that one with the word on his head, who always plays villains. He's a lot like the actor I was describing a minute ago, Steven Berkoff. I don't know. What do you guys think of this film? What are your general thoughts?
I think it's a very good sci-fi film. It's not like one of those greatly influential films that's like a watershed moment, but it's definitely enjoyable, and it's definitely a good example of the type of sci-fi that was coming out at the time that we don't get anymore.
That's true. It's true. One little thing I thought I would do. Let me share this. Share screen. No, I'm actually going to share video. That's right. I tried to share before, but it kept auto playing, so I had to remove it. Share video. And boom. This is at the beginning of Blade Runner and Outland. And it's an animation for the Lad Company. Now, one little nifty thing a lot of people don't know is that music you just heard, that's John Williams. He composed this.
Yeah, I can definitely hear it being John Williams.
A lot of people don't know that the 20th Century Fox fanfare was always just the brum 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 bum 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 bum. And that was the end until the 80s. And then it went ba-da-da-da, ba-ba-ba-ba, and it escalated. John Williams. John Williams wrote the second half of the 20th Century Fox fanfare. Just, again, more of the crap that floats around in my head.
It makes me sad that the ending of his career, the big things he's working on, are the terrible Star Wars movies and probably the terrible Indiana Jones movies.
You have to admit one thing, no matter what. At least the music is good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I've worked as an artist on several films doing production art, but also poster art. And I can say that some of the nicest things ever said to me about my posters was the poster art was better than the movie. I will go, thank you.
Yeah, it's a shame because I'd love for John Williams to be actually being used for, I don't know, Dune or just, some of these movies that I like, but I don't necessarily like the score of because Zimmerman's a fucking noise hack.
There was something happened to him because early on in his career, he was a really good composer. And then he just stopped. It's like he stopped trying. And he became like the master of droning music that just drones on and on and on. Doesn't really do anything. The themes never move more than this. Whereas you would get guys like, even Danny Elfman was more experimental. with the way he would write his marches. I hate his marches because he does polka marches, which I'm not a fan of. I prefer the marches of John Williams, because Williams would write themes that just they stick, and it is like that barbecue sausage sticks to the ribs. It just it's yummy, and then you want to pull that out and enjoy it again one day.
Well,
and
I think that Williams composes his marches with a heavy Prussian influence.
well, yeah, because there are different kinds of marches. The polka march is just a 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2, whereas the marches that John Williams did was the 4-time march, a 4 of a 4-time, and they're better. They give you more of a sense of theme, and I really love that. His Superman march, which actually you can hear the word Superman in the theme, through not through vocalization, but through the way dun da dun, and Raiders of the Lost Ark. It was really funny because Spielberg actually played a part in this because he wrote 2 themes for Raiders, and Spielberg goes, use both of them. Use both of them, because a lot of people don't know that he's a musician. Spielberg, I think he played clarinet in high school, and so he told Johnny, he goes, I like both of them. Use both of them, and he did. He combined them, and one introduces the theme, and the other part is the end of the theme, and it works perfectly. And Imperial March is probably one of his greatest marches, Darth Vader's theme.
And indeed, the Imperial March, the base for the Imperial March, is the beginning
Theme
of
to
the theme of
the
Indy.
Batman. Oh, it's also
No,
the theme of the Batman.
Indiana Jones.
They also use it. Clearly, I believe he stole it for the Batman. It's an incomplete Darth Vader's theme. It's the beginning of the phrase without the ending of the phrase, and it's just listen to it. Go listen to it. Tell me you don't hear the Imperial March.
And
I
John
watched the
Carpenter
Batman.
also did the word thing. I remember like what you can actually start to hear "Escape from New York" in the "Escape from New York" theme.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, with the Escape from New York, and I played it the other day for Anima. I said I love John Carpenter's synth work. It really is. I love Escape from New York. It's absolutely in my top 5 favorite films of all time. And though I despise its sequel, which is actually not a sequel, it's a complete remake of Escape from New York, and not a very good one. Escape from LA has the better theme, because it takes that same theme that he wrote, but puts an actual rock band to it with real guitars, not synth, real drums, not synthetic drums.
Not only that, but Snake's uniform is one of the great, gearing.
Oh, the long coat, yeah, the
Yeah.
black long coat,
Dung,
yeah.
dung, 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 dung.
Yeah, and what really cracked me up with it, in proof of it being a remake, at exactly the middle of the film, Snake Plissken grabs the chair and sits down because he doesn't know what to do or where to go. He's expended all of his fuel trying to figure out how to do something, and now he requires Deus Ex Machina to lead the rest of the story. That's Escape from New York, and then they do the exact same thing in Escape from LA. He's at the junkyard, pulls out a chair, and he sits down, and then what is going to happen happens. And Deus Ex Machina, it works better for me in Escape from New York because it seems almost serendipitous, whereas it just seems too echoey of the first film. In the second film, it's like, oh man, come on, man, nobody's that lucky twice.
The worst part though is Rian Johnson then steals the ending from Escape from LA for Last Jedi.
Oh, where he surfs?
No, he was a hologram the entire time.
Oh yeah, yeah. It wasn't Jake Skywalker at all.
Yeah.
So, but all of this still does connect. It goes all the way back to the same thing with themes. Jerry Goldsmith is one of those old school composers, that just has written some great thematic music. And, he's attached to so many movies that, it's sad. It's hard to believe he's been dead for 20 years. We lost him in what, 04, 03, some shit like that. And but that guy has still been in all kinds of franchises. The guy worked on Rambo, The Omen. Good grief! Because in The Omen, he's the one who came up with the variation of the Carmina Burana by Carl Orff for the chanting, the satanic monk-like chanting in The Omen. That's Jerry
By
Goldsmith.
the way, Gary, you know also he did Star Trek Voyager theme.
Yeah, I was getting to it. He worked, from 1968. He was doing stuff like the Planet of the Apes. The guy even did the theme to the Gremlins movie, man. Poltergeist, Chinatown. He did the music for Legend, for God's sake. The original soundtrack. It was eventually re-released with the special edition of the film. He did Papillon, which is really the last movie that was a studio system movie was Papillon. And that was the end of an era. And that had Dustin Hoffman and Steve McQueen. Classic film. The guy was known for his percussive work because you know what his music from Planet of the Apes. A lot of drums. He did Patton. The guy is like just all over the place with classic movies, working in Star Trek. He did several of the Star Trek films and themes. The guy worked with Spielberg. Spielberg didn't just work with John Williams. He worked with Jerry Goldsmith. He did Interspace. God, man, so many freaking movies. He did the Twilight Zone soundtrack for the movie. My God. Just what a career. Oh, another early job he did. He did Our Man Flint in 1966, right at the beginning of his career.
Capricorn 1.
Oh, my God. Yeah, he did do that film.
And Logan's Run.
Yeah, I mentioned that one. And it's a favorite of mine. I like Logan's Run. It seems like every year we hear, rumblings of they're going to do it again, then nothing happens. That's why I was a little surprised when Tom posted that thing last night about Salem's Lot. That because we heard like 2 years ago that there's going to be a remaking, and then we haven't heard anything. There's been no rumblings. And then a poster comes out yesterday, and Tom's like, "What?" And I'm like, "Yeah, dude, we heard about that like a couple of years ago, and just nothing happened. But I guess it got made, so we've got that coming in about a month."
That's
He
not a
died
good
in
sign.
2004.
Oh, he did die. I knew it was 03 or 04. But Jerry Goldsmith, did a lot of cheating, like a lot of composers do. If you go back to his music, you'll hear a lot of reused, recycled themes. You'll find it in the stuff like within Marion's theme in Raiders, similarities to Lois's theme, Leah's theme. Very similar in the way they're done, and he just inverts them. You can steal from yourself, just don't steal from other people, and Jerry Goldsmith would constantly do that. He did this thing that was really, people think that it was Star Trek, the sound of V'ger. It was done through an augmented electric guitar. His son even did. Jerry Goldsmith's son's a composer, by the way, if you didn't know that. He uses it too. Same effect. And I like it. I got to be honest. I don't care what movie it's used in. It's an interesting effect. It sounds strange and foreboding. And so Goldsmith started it, and his son continues the family tradition. But going back to Zimmer, Hans Zimmer started out as a composer, and then something happened to him, and he just gave up trying. So everything drones. The only place where I felt like he worked at all was in Blade Runner 2049, where he was trying to recapture what Vangelis did. And even though Vangelis was still alive, for some reason, they they got Hans Zimmer to copy what Vangelis would do. And it's really good. It works. And I think it also kind of works with Batman. Kind of. It did not work with Man of Steel. You need music that sounds hopeful. And droning is never hopeful. All I see is Santa Cruz operation on that intro. What are we talking about, Martin?
Oh, the intro for
Lab
the
company.
labs. Yeah, it looks like
Oh.
the logo of Santa Cruz Operation. With the
Slasher
tree
Fred
and
is here. Yeah, Pope Metalis is backdoor porn when I made that joke earlier. Slasher Fred is here. How you doing, man? This movie kind of feels like a pre-Minority Report, where instead the main character, because accused of a pre-crime, he is accused of a crime. I got to tell you something. I just said something yesterday about that movie, which is I was making fun of the graphics.
I think we got to go to break.
Yeah.
Oh, do we? Yes, we do. Sorry, Bill. Take us a break, man. Hi, guys. This is Gary from Pop Culture Minefield here on KGRA, and we're leaving for our first break. I hope we survive.
A birthday without her mom. An anniversary without her husband. Her wedding day without her dad. These are the days when military families feel it most of all. The loss of their soldier, their sailor, their airman, their Marine, their Coast Guardsman. Families never forget their loved ones lost to war or illness or suicide. Families never forget, and neither do we. We are TAPS, the Tragedy Assistance Program for Survivors. We provide resources, support, and comfort to heal the hearts and meet the needs of grieving military families, all at no cost to them. Your generosity can make an enormous difference in the lives of the families of our fallen military heroes. Our military families need to know they are not alone and they are not forgotten. Show them your support at taps.org.
Are we alone in the universe? The most important question facing humanity is on the verge of being settled once and for all. Mutual UFO Network has been at the forefront of this journey for nearly 50 years. Our members worldwide are dedicated to the research, documentation, and awareness that will shape the future of humanity. Won't you join us?
Hey members, the new KGRA DB app is now available on iOS and Android devices. Gain on-demand access to any KGRA DB programming. Download any show directly to your mobile device to listen or watch on the go. Go to the App Store and search KGRA DB.
Oh, wow. We survived. Welcome back from the commercial break. Now for some more Pop Culture Minefield on KGRA. All right, we are back. So I was saying I kind of picked a nit this week over Picard because I despise the use of these see-through screens, virtual screens that they use in the show, because you can see the windows on the other side are lit from whatever's going on out there. So how the hell are you going to see or read anything when they're transparent like that? And there's light. It's stupid. It just doesn't function. I made fun of this before with season 1 of Picard 2 years ago. And I brought up Minority Report did it better 21 years ago with those screens the way they worked. They weren't backlit. There was nothing on the other side. It was lit, so it's just stupid to do that.
Sequest had a really good method of doing it. They had actual fog build up and then the thing would go on.
Well, there you go. Because I said all you got to do is have a dampener, a light dampener filter in your virtual screen that just makes it look darker. It would just make sense, and just that they don't do it is just lazy. And then somebody reminded me that the reason why is that Jonathan Frank said that the only thing that they couldn't do was change the aesthetics. They were told not to touch the aesthetics because that needed to remain Kurtzman. So, yeah, I know. I'm not going to get into a big Star Trek thing here. It's just, Jesus Christ, man.
Just a little one.
It's problematic. But going back to Outland, you know, a lot of the visuals in this thing was so good. I think that even that weird explosion of the body, which, you know, I probably could pull something up about that real quick here. I'll go to YouTube here real quick and see if I can find. Could you imagine them not having that? Outland exploding face. No, they don't like it that way. Decompression. There it is. There it is. There we go. Now I will share the screen. Share screen. That despite as silly as this is, I do love this. It's a great effect.
It's like
he
Thunder
did.
from
Yeah, he not gonna make it, man.
it's like
He
Thunder
not gonna
from Big
make
Level in Little China.
Oh yeah, I love it when that happens in that movie too. What a great flick. Outland is just chock full of cool shit, stuff that doesn't make sense, but still, you gotta love it. Let me see if I can find a quick thing here.
Actually, my favorite scene is near the end when he's just in the racquetball court with Lazarus, and they're not even playing the game. He's just sitting down. He's going, you know, maybe I am what they thought I was. That's why I ended up here. But, you know, that's the programming. It's the thing. But it's just like, I don't agree.
Yeah, and you know, I'm going to point out again some things I really like in the film is the miniature work. And I'm going to pull some of that up real quick here.
Yeah,
this is the intro.
Yeah, all the miniatures are really well done. The problem is some of the, you know, people dying effects, especially the human bodies expanding and exploding. It doesn't look real.
And I think that's just the time period. It was still technically, it was shot in the 70s. And how they hadn't even perfected doing blood yet. Blood was pink to orange, depending on the movie in the 70s.
I do like the way they do that gas. That's really well done.
The gas. What's that?
Oh, the Jupiter, like the way it's moving, the gas is moving.
Oh, yeah. I actually don't know how they pulled that off. How did they do that?
Well, it's a simple thing. They put various dyes
of the actual live action with the miniature. See, that's all projected, but the platform that they're walking onto is actually a miniature. Really well done stuff here.
Yeah, and I know why they do it, so they light the actor's face, but a light on the inside of the helmet
would be blinding. And
yeah,
it's not functional. And one thing they discovered with the lights when they did it with Alien was it kind of aggravated the fogging up of the glass to where they kept having to blow cold air up into the suit, into the helmet to stop it from doing that. Stop it. And I think we got another. Yeah, here's another clip.
Oh, fun! I know. So it just got swept under the rug.
Well, this is something he predicted a long time ago, George Lucas. I remember back in 78, 79, I was at a grocery store and I'd always go to the magazine aisle looking for anything science fiction related. And there was an interview with George Lucas. And I'm like, I picked it up to read it. I'm not sure if it was People or one of those magazines, but he was interviewed about where things are going. And this was, I do believe it might have been 79. And it was before Empire Strikes Back. I remember that. And in the interview, he said that one day that the virtual world, the computer world, you'd be able to generate performances from virtual characters, including voice. And you could see almost the hope and glee in his voice because he hates working with actors. Right?
Yeah.
We all know this. This is a simple truth about him, that he could get the performances he wanted to without having to conflict with the personalities of the actors. And he could get the cuts, and that he could then manipulate some of it to work with the other stuff. And you see that when he did the scene in the cockpit of the Naboo.
The Starfighter, the one,
Not the Starfighter, but the silver one that they flew around in, because he has the owner of C-3PO the owner of the future owner of C-3PO. I forget his name. Antilles, Captain Antilles. You see him on one side of the shot, and you see Obi-Wan and another character interacting, and it's actually put together from two different shots, but you can't tell. Because George Lucas finally lived in an era where he could do what he had talked about 25 years earlier in an interview. There he was in the 90s talking about something he talked about in 79. And I was like, you could tell he was happier doing his Star Wars movies, the new, the prequel trilogy, which, fails because he did what he wanted on so many levels. But at the same time, they're still good. I still like them. I enjoy them. I just think that the acting is rough and the writing is terrible.
Even on his worst, he's still better than a lot of the other people.
Oh, yeah.
So Davina Beckworth asked an interesting question. Is Outlander a cyberpunk film?
I do not think so.
Well, it has a lot of common themes, but I don't think
it lacks the tech. There, you really need, in order to be, it's got to be cyber tech in order to be neo noir, or what do they call it?
Future noir.
Future noir. For it to fall into that category, the technology has to play a huge part in the storytelling. Like the movie Johnny Mnemonic, it's part of the storytelling process. Whereas this, it's just items that just happen to be there. It's very utilitarian, is what I refer to it as, the science fiction.
I'd say it's not cyberpunk because the technology...
Cyberpunk was the word I was looking for. Thank you.
Yeah. The technology in this doesn't dehumanize the main character. The lead character in this is just, standard straight-edge sheriff. He's not dehumanized by either his bosses or the technology around him. He's still, Sean Connery.
Yeah, and it really make an argument that because the drug dehumanizes the antagonists. We've got that in there.
That's one of the only things, and it is a synthetic drug, by the way.
Yeah.
There is that element, and I think that is probably the only real element in there. Whereas, like in Blade Runner is cyberpunk because of a couple of things. One of them, they're bioengineered robots. They're not robots. They're not androids. They're bioengineered robots. They're not clones. A clone would be an exact replica that's born and gestated, whereas these things are, each engineer designs an organ, is in charge of designing organs, then the organs are put together, and then the brain is we never find out if they have a synthetic or real brain in Blade Runner. We never find out. But I'm assuming that it is also bioengineered. And then you have, here's where it becomes cyberpunk, implants, implanted memory. The minute you start getting into shit like that, that's when you start moving into cyberpunk. Blade Runner is not the true father of it, of cyberpunk, but it is cinematically the father of cyberpunk. And because
it defined the aesthetic of the genre from that point onwards.
We have O'Bannon and Mobius to thank for cyberpunk.
Yeah. Mobius through Heavy Metal magazine, or as they called it over in France, Metal Hurlant. It really, and by the way, inspired Ridley Scott to do Blade Runner. Seeing Mobius's work. What's his name? Jacques Gouraud was his real name, Mobius?
Well, Mobius was like a duo team. They went by, basically an art.
I only knew the one.
Yeah.
The one who did all the stippling.
Well, technically, Bruce Bethke is the father of cyberpunk. He's the one that coined the term. He's the one that wrote the initial cyberpunk story.
Jean Gouraud. Thank you, Davina.
But if you ever read The Long Tomorrow, you definitely see things. And The Long Tomorrow is influenced by a bunch of the old 1940s detective serials. It's, the hard-boiled detective going about doing things, bangs a chick, turns out to be an alien, shoots her at the end. Well,
Harry Canyon is in Heavy Metal. It's also in the movie, too.
Yeah.
Is based on the hard-boiled detective stories. Fletcher, by the way, hi Cam, hi our Muslim uncle. Good to see you guys. Who else dropped in? Don't want to miss anybody. So let's see. What do we have here? Happy St. Hangovers Day. Yeah. Okay.
Let's see. I
Fletcher, miniatures need to come back, and I agree. I like miniatures.
Let's see. I'd also say urban decay is a big thing with cyberpunk because the huge, endless cities,
retrofitting of society.
Yeah.
Well, it's got to have that dystopian mindset.
Very much dystopian. I think one of the first cinematic attempts at doing that was Rollerball. In my memory. It's the first attempt. And now I don't consider that great science fiction, but it's a great film. I mean, if you've never seen Rollerball, the original with James Caan, John House, what a cast. What a movie. But I agree, Fletcher, we need to bring miniatures back. And I've as a fan of science fiction, if I were to, because I've made film and I would like to do film again. I own a film camera just so I can make film. But my problem is finding people that are going to be, I can tolerate. In order to work with somebody, I have to be able to tolerate them. And I tend to have a very low tolerance for stupid people or people who do stupid shit. And so I tend to sway away from working with people. That's why I do comics, because I can work by myself and not have to worry about somebody being stupid with me. Gibson, absolutely. In fact, William Gibson wrote the what was supposed to be the he took a screenplay that was called Blade Runner, and then wrote a book based on it called Blade Runner, a movie. It was a screenplay, then it became a book about a screenplay, and then the Hampton Fancher and Ridley liked it so much that they bought the rights to the name for Blade Runner. And it's a great name.
I thought it was a William S. Burroughs novel.
Was it William S. Burroughs? I thought it was Gibson.
Yeah.
If only we had something that we could reach out and look in to see. So there you go. I hear the keys working. There you go. I'd be glad to know. I hate it when I make a mistake like that, but I got to be honest. Gibson and Burroughs both remind me of each other.
Well, it was
No, we're both wrong. The Blade Runner.
It's based on Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep?
Well,
No,
Blade
but
Runner,
the
the
name.
story
They
is
did.
based on Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, or Dados, as we call it.
We were
and-
both wrong. Alan E. Norse, 1974's book.
Okay, who wrote the script, though?
What, Hampton originally?
Hampton wrote it.
William S. Burroughs was commissioned to write a treatment for a possible film adaptation. This was published.
That was
Blade
what I
Runner,
was
a
talking about.
movie.
That's the one I'm talking about. Yes.
Yeah.
And that's why they had to go to Burroughs, because Burroughs owned the rights to it.
Burroughs acknowledged the Norse novel as a source and prominently set up a mutated virus in right-wing politics in the year 1999.
Yep. So Philip K. Dick, it's not sure. It's a full-length novel. It's just not a long novel. Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, which deals really with a lot of weird subject matter, from religion, philosophy to general malaise, because everything, the important themes of Philip K. Dick's book dealt with his own personal battles with mental illness. And am I who I am? Am I who I think I am? Am I who they think I am? Are these memories I have my memories, or are these implants? Are they false memories? And you see this in everything from Ubik. It's not so in his short stories. His short stories, like the short life of the little brown Oxford, is like one of my favorite little short stories of his. And but it's a constant theme of many of his books, Man in a High Castle, everything. And it's because he was in constant conflict with his own mind. And it's a beautiful theme in many of his things. Like, I think one of my favorite descriptions he has of a guy that goes into a bathroom and reaches to hit a switch to turn the bathroom light on when there's a chain to turn the light on. And there's always been a chain. Why did he think there was a light switch? And it confounds him. Why did I think there was a light switch? And it's he begins to pull the thread and unravel a greater mystery at that one moment, the minute he goes for the wrong light switch. No, because this is all connected, Davina. It's not derailing. In my head, it's all connected. Blade Runner is directly connected to Outland. Outland is connected to Alien. All three are connected to each other. All three are connected to the composers and the composers that they compete with. Everything we've talked about here is still all connected. And Outland is, it was brought up, is the fact that it's one of those films that really, really used a lot of miniature work. And they used it in that shot that I just showed you a few minutes ago, where they had the miniature, where the camera moved down with the elevator doors open, and then you have rear screen projection moving out onto the platform. And then the camera pulls back, turns left, shows a matte painting, and then a real person is in front of the matte painting, because it's all done in one shot. And I thought it was brilliant. Peter Hyams did a really good job setting that up. Yep. And mixture of miniature to painting to real actors, all in one shot.
We finally got a breach worthy of the name.
There you go. Gary's backdoor is connected to it, so shall we play? I think I will play this one.
Pam, why do you have underpants with a Swiss flag on them? Swiss? Those aren't Swiss. Those are, they're from the Red Cross. They're defective. Anyway, me safe house, A2 safe house. I'm gonna check the back door.
Yep.
So Outland was pioneering as the first motion picture to use introvision, a variation of on-front projection that follows foreground, midground, and background elements to be combined in the camera. And you can see it in that one scene. Now, I thought that was rear screen, but maybe that was front screen projection of the people coming out of the elevator. I don't know. I thought it was rear screen, but I wouldn't be surprised to find out if it was that. What I find is that rear screen tends to be almost like it was shot through a filter, so it's softer. Whereas front screen projection is better lit, and like in 2001: Space Odyssey, when you've got the apes sitting around with the background, the mountain rock in the background, all that's all front screen projection used on a giant rotating studio set at Elstree, I think, or no, Pinewood. It's Pinewood Studios.
Most things are shot at Pinewood, seems like.
Yeah, and it's so well done what he did there, because it does something similar to what is done now with the Round, when they go into the Round to shoot shows like The Mandalorian, where the lit LED screens that are above them and around them are actually lighting them. So therefore, the lighting on them is directly impacted by the source material. And so they're interacting with this virtual world in a way that makes it more believable. And it's hard to spot.
Yeah, though it ends up feeling kind of isolated because of the way the sets are built up. They have to be like in the center of this big thing. So if you're ever paying attention, like, wait a second, they're always like stuff's always directly around them. Nothing's really too close to them except like one or two boxes or something like that.
Right. Anima is saying that nobody is taking care of the breaches today. It's not my job, man.
So did you? I heard the Mandalorian was especially terrible recently.
I don't agree with that at all.
The latest one?
Yeah, I didn't think it was bad at all.
I like the last episode with
the first episode of the season was rough, but here's why. People have forgotten that what was supposed to open this season was used to save Boba Fett.
Yep.
That was supposed to be this season of The Mandalorian. So the premiere episode of The Mandalorian ended up being used in Book of Boba Fett. And so therefore we ended up getting a different beginning. I don't know if that was quickly put together or what, but it is not an exciting episode. It has some fun moments in it. I don't think the creature effects were as good as the design work, because the painting of that terrapin-looking giant monster looked better in the painting than in the actual show. It looked really dull in comparison. But I still like the scene. And what you have is, premiere episode again is more of an establishing of where they're going. So they have a lot of moving around, going from person to person. And so you're not going to get a lot of action because of that. So you've got him interacting and establishing that Bo-Katan is going to be important. The pirates are going to be important. Working with Carl Weathers' character is going to be important. So there you go. That's what the pilot or premiere episode was for this season. Not exciting, but establishing where they're going.
I'm talking about the third episode.
Then I'm going to get there. Okay. Then you get to the second episode. It's a little more moving forward. And then this latest episode, what was this latest episode? What was the premise? I forget.
It's the one with the doctor. He's in the amnesty program.
Oh, yeah. Actually, no, that's important.
That's all world building.
It's world building. It's telling you, finally showing us what's going on with him. We only got little snippets of him before. And in the final episode where they capture him, the Mandalorians, and utilize information he gives them. So then we know that she gets captured in that final scene in the previous season too, when Grogu goes to be with Luke Skywalker. So both of them are caught close together, the doctor and her, the officer. And so we see these two for the first time since that episode. Okay. And I personally knew she was bad.
Yeah.
I wasn't falling for any of her shit. Whereas poor Anima had not seen that. So she went into that blind. And she thought, oh, they like each other. I went, no, it's once you understand her character from the previous, you know she's working it. And
Yeah, but the question is, why did she do what she did?
To get
Was
what
it-
she needed, and maybe to punish him a little bit, because I think she knows he betrayed them.
Was it just simple revenge, or is there another plot going on? That's what
She
I'm wondering.
she wants to find Moff Gideon
Yeah.
and get him out. That's her end goal. And to get back out there doing the Empire's work. And but getting a little punishment on the way is just, it's the sauce with the goose, I'm very interested in it, Fletcher. I'm absolutely enjoying it. It feels like good Star Wars. As much as, I know a lot of people liked Andor, and I looked at it and went, this is well acted. It's written well. It's actually written well. I'm not interested in it because it doesn't feel like Star Wars. And I want to feel like I'm watching Star Wars. And Mandalorian feels like you're watching Star Wars. And I'm not a big fan of Filoni. I think he's a turncoat. But I do like where they're going. I like Favreau. I think Favreau is doing the best he can with the management he's having to deal with. And but I've told people, because I just commented again yesterday on with the guys over at Echo Base. I said, hey man, coach, look, even when Kennedy is gone, Disney still owns it. So clearly Favreau is going to have to keep it connected to the sequel trilogy until somebody at Disney lets it go and says, okay, we're done with it. But that's never going to happen. It's never going to happen. You have better luck shitting in one hand and wishing in the other.
Yeah. The only time a company ever admits to a mistake is when a new administration comes and they want to make the old one look bad.
Yep.
Monkey Jeebus, what if she is an acolyte? Oh, absolutely. I don't think she's working directly for Gideon. She is working to get to Gideon. So she can go back to work for him.
I think he's referring to that series that's upcoming, The Acolyte. But if I remember right, that actually takes place in the High Republic, which is 200 years before now.
Yeah, so I don't know. I don't think it's connected.
I know she's working for Gideon because Gideon is the one who.
I don't think he's giving her orders right now. So I'm being technical here. She's not working for Gideon. She is working to get Gideon out so she can go back to work for Gideon.
Remember that Gideon tells her, I have an assignment for you. The assignment is
that's right.
Yeah,
she's
right.
And she wasn't on the deck.
Yep.
When they got there. That's a good point.
So she turned herself in so she could get into the program.
Because he saw what was going to happen, you think?
Maybe. Or maybe it's a correction tool, because I don't see the thing with Pershing like a punishment. I see like a prevention to keep him from talking.
This is interesting. Anima says it here. That's what I mean, Gary. She's working her way so she can get him out. I absolutely believe that is part of it, but you're right. He did do that. He says, I have a special mission for you. So this may all have been planned out, that he knew that he was going to be captured. Interesting. Is Book of Boba Fett in the far future? The Mandalorian episode that were cannibalized for Boba Fett, and it wasn't cannibalized for it. What it is they're taking place because when Boba Fett shows up in Mandalorian, this is after the events in the Book of Boba Fett with the Sand People and everything, and he's already gotten his ship back. Slave One, not Boba Fett's starship. It is Slave One.
Slave
The
line,
names of these items came
fire
about
spray class.
because of George Lucas and his love of filmmaking. R2D2 is the name of a film reel. And he saw that and he goes, that's the perfect name for a droid. C-3PO came from similar, and Slave One came from the hooking up of the sound systems, where one is the master system and the other one's the slave system. And he saw Slave-1 and clicked in his head and he kept it. He's really good at stuff like that. And he was very spontaneous. I've heard this about coming up with names for characters. When he saw the first version painting of Admiral Akbar as a fish, he came up with the name Mon Calamari on the spot. I'm like, he is a genius. He's just more of a marketing genius when it came to making toys than he is a story structure genius. I think she's sent to the doctor, and now she's going to try to get Gideon out now that he's captured. Well, was he captured at that point when he gave her that order? I've got a secret mission for you.
No, that was all before.
Yeah, so I don't think it's related. I think that it all had to do with, I think he saw the writing on the wall that he was eventually going to get captured.
Or maybe,
and once it happened.
Or maybe getting captured was part of his plan. We still don't know.
I don't know. So where did all these other Mandalorians come from, deleted scenes, if they were dead in Boba Fett?
What?
Wait, I didn't see this. What? To me, most of Star Wars is poor to meh. I'll stick to the OT, but I guess I've gotten too old for it. Am I missing something? I missed a comment or something?
Oh, Zach's was asking if Book of Boba Fett was in the far future. The Mandalorian episodes were all.
Yeah, I saw that, but he said something to deleted scenes if they were all dead in Boba Fett. And a lot of them are dead. And those that aren't dead are spread out into the universe, sort of,
No, I think, Zach's, you're jumping into conclusions. Boba Fett is never stated that all Mandalorians are dead.
Yeah, there was this.
I
think there was that one covert that was dead.
Oh, and even that covert is the current covert.
Well, there's coverts all through the galaxy.
Yeah, but past Vizsla has been with them since the beginning.
Yeah.
And he goes all the way back to the Clone Wars.
And Dead Watch.
When he's younger. And I do like the scene in the Book of Boba Fett where it's the Mandalorian episode where Paz fights Mando.
Mm.
And he actually defeats him at one point and gets the saber from him, but then Mando turns the table on him and puts that knife to his throat and gets the sword back.
By the way, in the first episode of this
Okay,
season,
Cam. I'll see you later. Have a good Saturday. Have a good weekend.
What does he say in that? Oh, yeah. Bye, Cam. No.
Well, he is from the first Mandalorian and one who who had the Jedi abilities that created the Darksaber.
Yeah.
The only Mandalore that has been a Jedi.
Yeah.
That's the one.
And they just called him the Mandalore, as I recall, right?
The title was very, very old before the Vizslas.
Well, Mandalore's name of planet.
No, but the
I could have sworn the Jedi powered one was called the Mandalore.
No. The supreme leader of Mandalores is called Mand apostrophe Lore. Is Mandalore. Like
that's what I just said.
Yeah.
And then you say no, and then you say the same thing I said.
Because I was talking to John. Oh my goodness! See, that's what I don't talk here.
Let's see. It's a tarp. It's a trap. It's a tarp. It's a carp. Take care, Cam Cam. Mandalorians are not native to Mandalore. Well,
Yes, they
especially
are.
some of them aren't, because they're clearly foundlings.
Yeah, there's foundlings, but there's
Yeah.
also
The
Those who
original
actually
species,
are
the
from there.
original species of Mandalore, who created the Mandalorian culture, they went extinct in the Mandalorian Wars.
yeah.
And all that was left was those that survived that were foundlings, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Anima's right. It is a creed. Technically, it's not a race because they
Well,
can.
Yeah, it's interesting because
they were a species.
Yeah, they
but
were. They were natives
were.
of the planet Mandalore. But
because my family is predominantly Jewish, and with my siblings, and one of the things I learned because of that was that there's two different types of Jewish people, Jews, and which is you have those that are cultural and those who are religious. You
hey,
know, the
Mr.
race.
Pickletruck.
You have the race culture, and then you have the culture religion, and they're two different things. In the EU, Mandalorians started as a race and became a clan.
See
Same
Mr.
thing with
Tickletrunk
the-
here for a while.
Happy Saturday. Dyslexic Akbar. You know what I refer to verbal dyslexia as? I call it verbal lystexia.
Maybe Dakbar at that point, wouldn't he?
Dakbar.
You know, the Sith were once a race that were
What does
found
TT
by
mean? What does TT mean?
Tickle
What is-
Trunk.
Tickletrunk. Mr.
Oh,
Tickletrunk
Tickle
was
Trunk.
here.
Yeah, Tickle Trunk is here. It's MTT, by the way, guys. MTT. And MTT, I gave him credit for starting something this week. I was explaining to somebody where it got started. And I'm trying to remember what the heck it was.
Your spelling of Geary.
Oh, Geary, because it came from the story of my sister, Luann. And someone said that Nick Weiser started it. Went, no, Tickle Trunk started it first, calling me Geary. And it went from there. So, but what's up, Mr. Tickler? It's good to see you, man. Hardly see you anymore. Did you get like a different job or something? I didn't do nothing, Geary.
Well, that's your problem right there.
I'd like to have a muffin right now because he said nothing. It made me think of muffin. Now I want a muffin. I guess we can get down to the final thoughts on Outland, which is what? Good science fiction, highly recommended.
Yep, something
I think that
watch.
It's directly connected with Aliens. When you watch Aliens, it feels even more connected to Outland because of the company. What do you think about that?
Yeah, like I said, my headcanon, it's connected the same way.
It has a better claim for connection to Aliens than Blade Runner does. Because I know Ridley Scott keeps pushing that whole thing, Blade Runner, Aliens are in the same universe, even though, two different companies. So legally it can never happen. Alan, though, same company.
Yeah.
Alan Ladd Jr. I got to tell you, Alan Ladd was a visionary. He really was. Without Alan Ladd, we wouldn't have had Star Wars. We wouldn't have had Alien. Alan Ladd saw the future of science fiction and film. Saw it as something more than B-movie quality. He saw the chance to really make some huge movies. And he's the one who pushed for Star Wars and backed George Lucas. Yes, absolutely, Davina. The whole conspiratorial feel of Alien is felt in Blade Runner, Outland, Aliens, and really it all started right there with Well, we could go all the way back to Hal in 2001: A Space Odyssey. Six is here. Hi, Six.
Yeah, and she just shit on you like normal.
Real Wade Nation. Of course she did. She always poops on me.
But the big creative connection, at least writing wise, it's Dan O'Bannon, because he wrote the thing that inspired all the visuals for Blade Runner, and he wrote Alien.
Yeah, Dan O'Bannon and Rod Shusett, both. By the way, I want to thank you for the 99-cent super sticker of the poop. Thank you, Six. And my girlfriend's excited. She sees her. Six.
Yep.
Yeah, Davina, they have denied this for years, but I do believe that it was, because IBM was actually involved with the making of 2001: A Space Odyssey. And what happened, if you find out the backstory to what I almost said Ridley, with what Stanley Kubrick did, he lied to him. He lied to the backers and promised them one kind of movie when he was actually secretly making another kind of movie that was anti-technology. And once they saw the final cut, because the cut that he showed IBM and the other backers had narration, had an opening scene explaining technology and IBM and the future of space travel. All of that was removed when he did the final cut, because he held final rights to the final cut of the film. And when they saw that, the investors lost their shit. There were lawsuits over it. IBM sued them to have their name taken out of the movie.
You can still see its logo on the suits, though, on the Blu-ray if you pause.
Yes, you can. Down. Yes, you can.
And how is IBM? Take the next letter down.
And, well, the thing is, though, that's when the denial started coming in, about HAL being only one letter off of IBM. Each one, HAL, was one letter off from IBM in the name as an acronym.
Six sent another super sticker.
Oh, for $1.49. Thank you, Six. Thank you. What's this one?
Rose.
By the way, I can tell you exactly why Stanley did that. Because he didn't do that shit on Doctor Strangelove, and he almost got blackballed because he was making fun of
you people. Have no idea how close to the mark you are. They didn't want another Doctor Strangelove, and that's why the investors were constantly demanding to see cuts of the film to see where it was going, because they didn't want another anti-establishment film like Dr. Strangelove. And he still did it. He pulled it off. But he really had trouble getting his next movie, which never got made. But let me see. I owe a video to her. I'm going to play her. What's a good one? Oh, I haven't played this one in a while.
Answer the goddamn question. When are you coming?
Hopefully within the next 48 hours.
48 hours?
I realize you must have gone through hell.
Gone? Bitch, we still here.
I love that movie. But Kubrick, he was what's the word I'm looking for? Always bucking the system, people that are like that, always going against the grain. Maverick, thank you. He was a maverick. And after 2001: A Space Odyssey, his career, as he knew it, was practically over. And he couldn't get his Napoleonic film done, and instead opted to do a comedy, romantic comedy, and then opted to, because it was all he could get funded. And then his next movie after that, holy crap, how he got that made to this day, I'm still not totally sure. Because its themes are all over the place, is the Ryan O'Neal film that took place during the Revolutionary War. Not Rob Roy. Anyway, Barry Lyndon, thank you. The shit is for Gary. The roses for Anima. Thanks, baby. I appreciate it.
It's like Six. I'm not saying how you're sexually orientated, but it seems Anima might be a little bit more interested in you than she is Gary.
You do not know Anima. But Railway Nation is here too. I want to say hi to him. Who else popped in? Oh, Vinkman's Girl is here. Hi. Leviathan is underrated. It's another design by Ron Cobb. And Ron Cobb did some really cool shit. He designed the internal workings of the Nostromo for Alien, some of the Alien artifacts too. He designed Conan the Barbarian. He's in the movie Conan the Barbarian. He's the guy that sells him the good stuff, not the Stygian crap. That's him. I stopped it to point it out to Anima when she watched Conan with me. And but I got to tell you, Sean Connery is Marshall O'Neill. I do think it is one of his best roles. It's one of his best performances in film. And I think the only one I think is better is when he plays the Irish cop in The Untouchables. They're into the lesson.
I still love his whole thing where it's like, oh, you don't mind a dark sense of humor. It's like, well, straighten your shit or I'll kick your ass. There you go. That's a Marshall joke.
It's not just like a what brings a knife to a gunfight. It was racist as hell, but it was awesome. And when he starts messing with Andy Garcia, and Garcia, he pulls up his sap like he's going to hit him, and that little 32 goes up under his chin. He goes, "Oh, I like him. He's hired." I love that movie, The Untouchables. It's nothing is based in history in that except the names. It is just absolute fantasy of what happened. I've got sad news that Capone's number 2 did not die on a rooftop, being thrown from a rooftop. It didn't happen. He ended up taking it over when Capone got put in prison.
Still does have a great line though. It's like, where is he? Oh, he's in the car.
He's in the car. It's a classic Arnold James Bond kind of line. Stick around. I just mixed my mediums by having Sean deliver an Arnold line. So, but Outland is one of those films that if you haven't seen it, you need to watch it. It's definitely get the latest version of it. I don't know if they put it out on 4K.
I think it at least has a Blu-ray. I mean, I got it.
I know it's on Blu-ray, but I don't think they put out a 4K of it yet. No, it's just available on Blu-ray, which is still, it's 1080p. I'd like to see a 4K print made of that. It would be really nice, even though, once again, we see about a 3000K. It would still be nice to see a full cut of that. And they would probably have to go back and clean up some of the effects in it, which would be nice. But I got to tell you, it's a classic sci-fi film. It's got some silly things in it, but it's also got some great moments in that movie. And a lot of it deals with the relationship between Marshall O'Neill and Dr. Lazarus. It's almost like Kirk and McCoy kind of relationship. And I did like that. I felt bad that Sticking's character gets murdered so early in the film. But it's jarring when it happens, because when they drop him out of that locker right into the camera with that black tongue, eyes rolled up, and fecal hemorrhages all over the eyes, that was gory. Good moment. I like the moment when he finds the dude that was being held in zero grav, floating around. He can't put his feet down, and they find him blood coming out of his oxygen tube that was cut off. Even though it's kind of silly because the oxygen floats upward instead of floating outward. And but they did the best they could with what they had in 1979. It's a good film. A lot of gore in it. I mean, not a lot, but there's a good amount of gore in it. Some of the gore is over the top, but it's fun with the head exploding, guts blowing outward when they find that guy in the elevator. he went out into the atmosphere without a suit on. His whole body exploded. A lot of cool stuff. It's an anti-drug movie in its own way. Say no to drugs.
Or I'll
Well,
kill ya.
I think we have 2 minutes left, or maybe 1.5.
IBM strikes again. I think if IBM got it in its way, 2001: A Space Odyssey would have been different. I still consider it one of the best films about space travel to this day. How would he? You wouldn't be sure if he was saying syphilis or Sisyphus. Syphilis.
Either way, he's constantly pushing rocks up hills.
And the Blu-ray came out in 2012. Yeah. They really do. I think they need to put out a 4K of it. It's one of those films that should be seen in the best quality. And I like it every once in a while when you'll see midnight film festivals where you'll see that movie being shown. But what I would really like to see that movie on is 70 millimeter. I got to see Blade Runner on 70 millimeter during the Warner Brothers Film Festival back in, 2004, 2005, something like that. I went to Kansas City to the film festival. It was really nice.
Plus, we have reached the end.
Yep, it's time to go.
Oh, have we reached the end? Good. I'm done. I want to go do artwork now. I want everybody to have a good Saturday. I hope you do. I want to say hi to everybody before we go. So let me get to the private chat and get there. Go Monkey Jeebus, Penny, Anima Confusa, Deleted Scenes, Dragon Ruse, Pope Metallicus, Davina Duckworth, Latino Slant Polly, Slasher Fred, Cam's Crash Courses, Our Muslim Uncle, Zax, a.k.a. Kyle, Mr. Tickled Trunk, Peter Vinkman's fan site, also known as Vinkman's Girl, Real Wade Nation Gaming, The Lovely Six, and Cavatino Calvaryman Che. Thank you all for being here. Bill, get us out of here. We got other stuff to do.